Okay guys, so in my intro video I said we were going to do Slanesh, but after talking to a few people we're going to change that slightly, and we are going to start with the Oracle of Zeech, and we are going to be starting with Kairos Fateweaver. So he's been built in sub-assemblies, so I have Kairos himself, the main body primed in Wraithbone, and we also have his staff slightly separated as well, just to make it a bit easier, so that when he does go together like that, we can just get to the staff quite nicely. And the staff is probably where we're going to start. We're going to try and get as close to box art, but like I said, remember, I'm not a professional painter. We are just here to have some fun and go through the process in how I paint things. So as discussed before, I have my elastic band ready, and we're going to be using a mixture of contrast paints and also normal paint. And like I say, yeah, we're going to start with the staff. I'm not quite sure where to start with the staff, to be honest. Let's have a look. Okay, so we are going to start with some Yandan yellow, and that is going to be just for the top dragon. We're just going to give him a nice even coat up here. Start at the top and we'll work our way down. So let's get that. Now I use a number of different brushes, from Citadel brushes all the way through to these H&S detail brushes. I've got some Army Painter brushes, so lots of different brushes in total to use. So like I say, a bit of a Yandan yellow, and we're just going to put that on, and we're just going to do that all over. A nice coat of it. We may go for a second one depending on how it looks when we finish it. But just remember, with contrast paints, you're going to put it on, and we're just going to move it around while it's on. Contrast paint, because I'm doing this large section, I'm not particularly worried about my shakes at the minute. It's not too bad. It does make it difficult when you try to find highlight, or if you're trying to get into some little detail. So I'm just going to move that up there a little bit. And I'm now going to put it on because it is starting to affect me slightly. So like you can see on the brush, there's not a tiny amount. There is enough just to cover that. And we're just going to cover all of that dragon. Nice and easy. Nice place to start. So as you can see, not particularly worried, but just putting it on. Before it gets a chance to dry, I'm just going back in and making sure it doesn't pull anywhere I don't want it to. And I don't want it too deep in the recesses, but it just gives a nice warm colour to start with at the top. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then we will be back with the next section. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a nice consistent colour on there. We are going to do a second coat of that once it's dried. Yeah, so we'll have a look at the book next. So we're trying to just get some base colours down at the moment and see how that goes. So we're not going to worry about the tongue at the moment. That's going to be black with the jewel in the minute. in the middle even, not the middle. The pages will be white, so we'll sort them out in a moment. So yeah, let's have a look at the back of the book. So obviously the corners there are going to be gold, I think, but quite a bright gold. And I think we're probably going to look at Thalasar blue for across the back there to start with. Oh, we're going to go with Leviathan blue, let's think. I think I'm going to go for some Thalasar blue. Let's give that a nice good shake. So I changed my mind, like all good YouTubers do, and we are going to use some Archelian green instead on just the back of the book and those little tassels. Again, we don't want to use too much. Just make sure my brush is nice and dry. We don't want to use too much contrast on this, but what we're looking to do here is just get a nice even coat. So we just start at the top there and bring that down again, section by section. Don't worry if you go over bits that you're not going to use that Archelian green on, because we'll come back and we will tidy that up. So if you do make mistakes, just tidy it up again with a bit of Wraithbone once you're finished. But like I said, I'm not a professional painter. This is for, I suppose, someone in the comments on my intro video called it the Mortal Men. It's just a way of enjoying the hobby and sharing what I do with people. I've always wanted to do it, so I figured now's the better time, or now's as good a time, should I say, as ever to get on it. I've been inspired by so many people recently, commenting on my work in things that I've been doing, challenges with the Warboss Tae, and I've been doing Tale of Many Warhipsters with the Warhipster, funnily enough, and joining in with conversations and the live hobby hangouts and stuff that he does over on his channel, the Friday night Instagram show. So pop over to the Warhipster, give him a like and subscribe. He's also the Warhipster on Instagram, and ADR Wargaming as well. Have a look at those guys, and then Warboss Tae, have a look at his channel. It's all very interesting and all that good stuff. So as you can see, we're just working through with this Archelian green, not being overly neat, I have to say. I am suffering quite a bit this evening. It is very hot in here as well, so that's not helping. But if I put my little fan on, unfortunately it'll drown my voice out, which some of you might not think is a bad thing. So we're just giving that a nice little coat of the Archelian green. We could have thinned it down a little bit, but I don't really want to. I quite like the colour as it is straight out of the pot. And that's the great thing about these contrast paints. It is, you know, usable straight from the pot. And as you can see, I'm not being particularly neat. I am struggling to keep within those lines. But like I said before, this is for the mortal man. We can't all have the steadiest hands available as much as we'd like to. The band is on, and still I am quite shaky. I'm quite low down, so I'm not coming at the model at too steep an angle, or at least I'm trying not to. But I am kind of keeping it as best I can. Now this is only going to be part one. This is probably going to be done in a few parts of about 15-20 minutes a pop, just purely for the fact that I can't paint for much longer than that, because as you can see already, over here was a bit messy. This is becoming a bit messier as we go on. So what I want to do is just try and get these little bits done tonight. maybe get that uploaded, just so we got somewhere to start. And then we'll come back with another video, just moving on bit by bit. We take it nice and slow. There's no need to rush. There's no need to rush through the videos. But obviously if you do like the videos and want me to keep going, then it'd be nice. If you don't, then don't subscribe. But I'd like as many subscribers as I can. I'm not trying to make money out of this. I'm quite literally doing this because it's a passion of mine, is painting the miniatures. I will start uploading some stuff to an Instagram channel at some point, so that you guys can see some examples of my other work. So yeah, it's not brilliant, but I'm happy with it, and that's all you can ask for when you're painting, is when you walk away from it after a painting session, do you feel happy with what you've accomplished? Yes, I have. Okay, lovely. No, I haven't. Okay, so evaluate why not. And that's what I do. I walk away from it, I have a good look at it, and I evaluate what it is that I think maybe I could have done better. Is there a way that I could mitigate those shakes a bit more? Was I using too much contrast? You know, all these little things that all painters think about, but probably too afraid to tell people that that's what they do. I'm very lucky in so much that I have people around me who are very supportive of what I'm doing. You know, people that have no interest in the game itself. I mean, I don't remember the last time I had a game of anything, to be fair. But I have still painted throughout this horrible pandemic that we've been through. I've painted, you know, I've spent most of my time at my desk, to be fair, or a lot of time, should I say, not most of it, because I do have a life outside painting, although that's questionable. No, it's not. I do have a life outside of painting. Painting's just what I do to relax. You can see I'm just going back over it, just slightly over all of it, just to deepen those sharpest area, or deepen those areas, should I say, on the model. And that's going to give us a really nice sort of darkish turquoisey. Now when we come back to it, it will all be cleaned up, and we will have a look at what we could do to highlight it if we wanted to, or we could leave it like this, just tidy it up. It's not going to be great, but I think what I might do is make up a little bit of a mixture of contrast medium with some Leviathan blue once it's tidied up, and we'll go over that. So let's do that. Just a quick once over on these ones, because this is still relatively wet, and the way contrast works is it makes a bit of a skin. So if you do it too soon, all it's going to do is it's going to break that skin, and it's going to look horrible when you've done it. So yeah, like I say, we've got the starts and the top. I make that about 15 minutes now. Well, it's actually 14 minutes, but once that dries, that should look all right. We'll get that, oh, let's get that back into view. Once that dries, we'll give that a good tidy up, and we will come back. While we're away, I will do the second coat on the Yandan yellow, and when we come back, we should be ready to move on a little bit further just down the staff. So what we're looking at doing is giving these areas, oh, you can see the shakes in the brush and my hand, so I do apologize. We're going to look at doing these in gold and these as well, and we'll use the classic method to do these bits and these bits in gold, I'm going to leave kind of the gems till the very end, and we'll come back and we'll sort them out all in once. So okay, so we are back, and like I said before, as you can see, this is now all cleaned up. Let's move back a bit close to the camera. This is all now cleaned up. Come on, focus. There we go. Oh, there we go. No, okay, it doesn't want to play today. So this is all cleaned up. It's still a bit dark, but that's not a problem because we're going to be covering that anyway. I haven't done the inside of the tongue, clean that up, and as you can see, we've given this another coat of the Yandan yellow, and I just think it darkens it up quite nicely. Like I say, I've missed the eyes out this side because I will paint those back in Wraithbone again. Okay, so we're now going to move on and give this a bit of a glaze really now on the book itself. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make a 2-to-1 mix to start with of our Achillean green and our contrast medium. So we'll just give them a good shake. So I'm just going to pop 1 part of the Achillean green down and give my brush a wash before we pop into our contrast. I'm just going to pop that next to it. Now I use 2 different types of palette. I've got a wet palette that I use for doing highlighting and stuff, and then I've got a normal paint palette, Citadel palette, water. They're just their normal pad. So mix them in together. I'm just going to test that on the back of my thumb. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just give this a quick once over. That's probably a bit too much on my brush, to be fair. And this time it's just getting it a little bit neater. And as you can see, the shakes are starting already. Because I am holding it quite tightly. I'm trying not to, but by trying to hold it tighter, I'm hoping I can get a better control. And you can see how difficult it is for me at the moment. The shaking is quite phenomenal actually this evening. But you can see what it's doing. It's just tidying that up quite nicely. I have to keep checking up to make sure I'm in the view of the camera so you can see what's going on. And I'm not too worried if a little bit of this glaze gets over those places I've tidied up now, because we're going to be painting those momentarily anyway. Like I said before, just bear with me with some of the videos, guys. It's my first time doing this, so I'm not very technically minded, so I am trying to learn as we go along, making sure I can get my camera in the right area, making sure it's the right way round. I noticed in the last one that it had a bit of a border to it. I'm hoping now that I've turned it round, I'm not going to get that effect this time, and hopefully it'll give us a bit more of a screen shot. Still got a few little bits of white showing through there, but that's not too much of a problem. It is a book after all. And we'll go through there. It just helps deepen those little recesses as well with a nice little glaze over the top. Possibly want to just go over that bit again a bit later on, but I'll have a look at that once we've done that. It might come together. If you guys have got anything you'd like to see painted by, as someone in the comments on my last video or my intro video put, a mere mortal, then by all means drop a comment and we'll see what we can do. I do have a few things in my arsenal, shall we say. I have some Death Watch. I've got a... oh, what else have I got? I've got quite a lot of Sylvan. So I've got the Wildwood. The Wildwood? What's it called? It is called the Warsong Revenant that needs doing. Elthane's Soul Raid that needs doing. We're going to do Sinessa. I've got the Burning Cavalcade, which will be coming. So I've got a fair little bit sitting just in the background that hopefully I can cover different bits, not just Age of Sigmar. I do have some 40k stuff as well, and hopefully when it comes out we'll be getting the new kill team. So we'll have some Krieg and some Orc stuff, as long as that's not going to step on other people's toes. That I don't want to kind of do that. So as you can see, it looks a bit tidier. Don't worry, this is the part that I hate the most. And that's that it always looks rubbish, I think, before you start getting into the highlights or getting all the bases and then the shades down. So moving on from there, I want quite a bright gold on this, so I'm just gonna get some Retributor armor, if I can work out where I've put it. There we go, some Retributor armor. And I'm going to be using my wet palette for this one, just because I decanted all of my, or a lot of my Citadel stuff into bottles, and it makes life a little bit easier for me, especially picking up the paint and not being quite so shaky. Now some of my brushes have triangle handles on them. They do make it easier for me to paint because it rests and I can hold it more like a pen. But sometimes they don't always help. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use a smaller layer brush, I believe. Yes, there we go. I'm going to use a small layer brush. And all I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to work on this one up here. This one here, yeah, that's the one. These bits here, and I'm going to come down to about probably the top of the staff there. This is all going to be gold here and here. This bit here as well, which makes me think, yeah, okay, that's fine. All of these here as well, and down there. So we're going to do all of those gold now. At least, again, 2 thin coats, because who needs one thick coat? You're going to get rid of all the detail that the wonderful designers have put in. So with a wet palette, I tend not to thin the metallics, but I don't slather the paint on. As you can see, I'm just putting a little bit on and moving it around. I'm not putting a big thick coat on. Now if I can avoid it, I'm going to try and go round these gems. That's not always possible with shaky hands, because inevitably you're going to spill onto somewhere else. Ideally you don't want to. You don't want to get that overspill, but it will happen. And I'm not overly fussed about that, because I know I can just go back, clean up, tidy up. And yeah, it takes a little bit of time going backwards and forwards, and it does. We're all human, we all make mistakes. You know, we're not these superhero painters that you see, you know, taking the Games Workshop by storm and stuff like that. So So I'm just going to do these. Now with the side of the book, I haven't really decided what I'm going to do in terms of the actual book itself yet. So we'll have a look at that a bit later on. All these little bits inside here, part of me wants to just paint them gold and then just fill them with, I just want to fill them with some shade, but that's not really going to cut it, I don't think. So again, I'll have another think about that. As you can see there, trying to get in that thin line. Oh, trying to get in that thin line there. I've just overspilled a little bit, but not the end of the world. Right, need to remember I'm on camera and keep moving these into the camera space. So I'm just going to follow this around, nice and simple. I am using just the edge or the side of the brush just to fan those out a little bit to get to those edges. And like I say, it will probably need 2 thin coats, which is fine. Rather 2 thin coats and keep that detail than do 1 thick coat and ruin it all. Some of these GW sculpts have some amazing detail in it that people miss, and I do it all the time. I recently painted Lord Croak. In fact, I'm still working on him for a personal project, and I completely missed a small frog in the background. So yeah, we all miss the detail, and you will miss details, but don't worry about it. You can always go back and fill those in. Okay, so I'm going to get these gold bits done, and then when we come back we will have a look at highlighting this top bit to start with. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, we've got all of that nice and golden, which looks lovely. It did take 2 coats, and I've tidied up a little bit with a little bit of Achillean green. There are still some areas that you can see, such as here, that the light makes it look like I haven't actually painted it, but I have. So now what we're going to do is probably the hardest bit for a shaker, and that's this bit here. We're just going to do a few highlights on there, and we're going to work up from about halfway. We'll do these in Troll Slayer Orange, and we'll do Troll Slayer Orange most of the way up, and then as we get to about halfway, we'll start to look to put some Evil Sun Scarlet in, and at the very top we'll just finish off the tips with some Abaddon Black, just give it a bit of a flame look. So here's my elastic band, so we're going to get that on. Wet palette, Troll Slayer Orange, bit of a shake, there we go. Now again, it's up to you what brush you want to use. I use a small layer brush to do highlighting, but I have got smaller ones should I feel the need to move smaller. So I've got some zeros and 30, 50, that sort of stuff. I know a lot of people say you should probably use a bigger brush for highlighting, and it seems to be a bit of a thing as well. But what we need to do is just get that nice and thin. Test it on the back of your thumb. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Yeah. Now remember, when you paint, where you finish your brush is where the most paint is going to be deposited. So as you can see, if you do it on my thumb, as you bring it along, it's nice and thin, and I pull it up and I leave that little dot. I don't know if you can see that little dot just on the end, which is something we want to try and avoid. So what I like to do is take off as much paint as I can, and then start to just gently work it along the edges. You can see how difficult it is. It's quite a thick highlight, and I'm happy with that as a thick highlight, because with these orange bits down here, we can go back over them again with some Fire Dragon Bright just to set those little edges off. Now, like I say, we're not perfect painters, we're just giving that impression of a highlight. The contrast paint has done a lot of work for us already, so we're just, you know, a little bit of highlighting. This bit here is gold, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to do the tips of the wings. As you can see, we're just giving that little bit messed up there. But again, like I keep saying, we're not here to be professionals. We're not here to be, you know, making the thing look like it belongs in a competition. All we're here for is to have fun, to enjoy it, to kind of work. Oh, just make a nice job of it. You know, do spend time on it. Take it nice and slowly. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're happy with it when you finished it, then that's all that matters. If you're not happy with it, go back and try again. Highlighting is one of those skills that I don't have. I'm not very artistic when it comes to things like highlights and knowing where the light's hitting and all this sort of stuff. So I just look at it and think, does that look alright? Yes, it does. I'm quite happy with the way that looks. So just get a little bit on his horn here. But there, so it's just the raised edges I'm going over on his face. Up on his eyebrow there. So you can see it's coming along slowly. I'm just going to do some tips up here. Quite like that one. And just spin it over. And then we're just going to do the same bit here. Just little bits here and there. Again, not overly worried if I overspill. I can wipe it off with my finger. I'm just gonna try and get them in again. As you can see, I'm struggling a little bit with the highlighting, but I'm quite happy with the way that's come out. I quite like it. You know, this isn't for anything. We're not entering competitions. This is just for tabletop. You know, get something on the table, make it look good. Did I do that side there? No, I didn't. So we'll just pop back in and do that. And then we're just going to run one along there. And run one along there. And it just helps bring that out a little bit more. I quite like that. And I'm just going to swap to some Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm not going to worry too much about the Troll Slayer being dry. Because it will make a nice blend. So with this one, I'm just gonna, sorry, I keep forgetting I'm on camera. This one I'm just gonna, a little bit here and there. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you know, in a specific place. Remember, it's your model. You do whatever you feel comfortable doing. And that goes for any painting techniques that you see. Whatever you think looks good, whatever you like. See, I don't like that there, so I'm gonna wipe that away. Do a couple of little bits here. And I am just literally popping a little bit of paint on. Not worrying too much about it, where I'm putting it. But the tip seems to be working, so I may even not put the black on to create that fiery kind of effect. I quite like the fact that it's got red tips. A little bit there. No, I don't like that. I'm just going to wipe that down with my finger. So with these bits here, I might just use that as a spot highlight instead. Yeah. I'm going over to the other side. A little bit there. I'm not overly worried about it. I just want it to pop a little bit, but not overwhelm the model. I don't want people to look at that red and go, oh blimey, red, loads of red. I am quite happy with that. Yeah, so as you can see, it's I've probably done it down here, haven't I? Because I can't look at the camera at the same time. Oh, let's get rid of that bit there. So as you can see, it just makes it pop just that little bit, which is what we want. Lovely stuff. So we'll move on, and we'll just get the tongue done, I think, for this video, and that will probably be it. We're at 20 minutes, so maybe a little bit more. So I want some black Templar, if I can find it. Where have I put it? Space Wall's grey, no. Oh, it's always the way, the one that you want, you can never find. That shinish purple. Saigon brown. Skeleton Horde. Space Wall's grey. Pterodon. Where have I put that? Oh, there it is. Staring me right in the face. Right in the, you know, open your eyes section, as we say. Okay, so small lad's fine just to get in here. So all I'm going to do now is just get in there with some black Templar. And it's not going to come out perfectly black. It's going to give like a smoky kind of black color. It's not going to be jet black. If we wanted to do jet black, we would have put an undercoat of Basilicanum grey, but I am going to do 2 coats of this, so it could come out, or it will come out a lot darker. Reason being, I want to just cover up that yellow properly on the tongue. Going to whiz around that nice and quick. Oh, and then can we see that? Yeah, we can. We're just going to work our way around that, just making sure we're not pooling anywhere too much that we don't want. So we'll do 2 coats on that. We'll just give that a minute to dry. So while that's drying, just going to get some Gilliman flesh, which is just here. I'm going to use this as a shade over this gold, all this gold that we've got here. I'm not going to bother thinning it down. I'm just going to pop it on, and as you can see straight away, it gives that nice rich kind of dark gold, almost rose gold feel to it. But don't worry too much about the colour at the moment, because we will bring it back up to that gold as we work through. So you just work it into that area, and then we're just gonna go back and just make sure we're not pooling too much anywhere with the shade. So put some on, remembering to start realistically where the shade is. So if we were coming down here, we'd start in that little circle and bring it up, and we'll go across here. We just want that to go in the recesses quite nicely, which it is, and it just sits nice. It's beautiful, it gives a nice rose gold effect. And do the same here. So I'm just going to start there. Now you can see that's pooling way too much in that recess, so what I'm going to do is just going to drag this down a little bit more, and I'm going to go back in, grab that, and we're just going to pop that in there like that. Nice and slowly. Like I say, we're not rushing, we're not in a rush to get it finished. It could be a series of 10 videos at this rate because I can only paint obviously when I'm not working. Through there again just to make sure we're okay. Obviously try and be as careful as you can around this top bit, because we've obviously already painted the blue. There we go. I'm going to do this top bit here. Oh, missed these ones. The little rings that hold on. And do both sides at the same time, because then I can just move the contrast from here and over. Now this video is not all going to be contrast. I'm still learning to use contrast myself. If you want full contrast videos, then obviously check out the warhipster. A lot of, in fact, he does some fantastic contrast plus tutorials, he calls them, and he has a lot of stuff on there. And to be honest, if you're struggling to use contrast, go and check it out. He explains very well how to use contrast paints. And he breaks it down nice and easy as well into the painting steps for many models, might I say. So if you are interested in just contrast paints, then obviously go and check him out at the warhipster. I'm going to come back on that. I'm going to come back in those little areas there and just clean them out. Take that off my brush. Cool. You can see the shaking starting to appear slightly because I've been painting for too long now, so my hand is now getting tired and my brain is getting tired. So the more I try and fight those shakes, ironically, the more I try to fight them, the shakier I become. So for me, I'm going to get these little bits done. These little bits done tonight, and then that is going to be me. I think way too much on there, and I think that's going to be the end of this part, to be honest, just purely because I probably can't do much more this evening. So yeah, we'll get that shaded. You can see it coming in when I'm trying to get that thin little area there. I don't remember doing this bit, so I'm going to give it another one just in case. So there we go. Let's get that in focus. There we go. So we've made a great start on the top. Hopefully my shakes will settle. So next time that we come back, so while I'm off camera, I will do the second coat of the Black Templar on the throat. Oh, nice. I will do the Black Templar on here. I'll also do the Wraith Bone in these areas just to tidy them up. So when we come back next time, we're going to work on highlighting the gold here, but also we're going to look at these little inscriptions down here. Okay, and we'll look at highlighting all the gold. And then we'll turn our attention to the inside of the book. And then by the end of the next video, we'll be ready to start working our way down the staff. And then that will be an episode in itself, the staff. And then we can finally move on to Big Boy himself. And we'll be looking at things like the skin blending that skin in, getting those wings done, and that should be probably 3 or 4 episodes to get that done. So as always, if you found this helpful, give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit that bell. We'll see you soon, guys, for some more Kairos Fateweaver. Okay, guys, so one of the things I was working on, as I say, we went away and we whitened up this bit and we just tidied all this up so it looks nice and smart. Now, one of the things I did spot was that the book itself has an edge. So what I wanted to do was just take some of that Arcalian green and sort of show how difficult this can be for someone with shaky hands. So I did a little bit down here and you can see I overspilled straight away. So I'm just trying to get that as neat as I can, and you can see how shaky it is this morning. I'm just trying to get it as neat as I can, but I'm not overly worried. If I overspill, I overspill, you know, it's why we tidy up. You can see it's gone onto the book a little bit there, but again, not overly worried about it. Yeah, so I'm just gonna concentrate trying to get that on there. You can see now that it's starting to come across on that book. It is contrast paint after all, it's what it's designed to do, but that's not a problem. We'll just tidy that up with some Wraithbone afterwards from the pot. And I'm trying to use the edge of the brush where I can, but that's not always possible, and obviously getting that tip in excuse me, is not easy. So we can see the book comes across here, so we're just gonna drop in there. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that bit there is going to be gold. I've obviously missed that bit as well. But again, like I say, we're mere mortals. As people keep reminding me, we're mere mortals, and this is what this is all about. Oh, I overspilled a little bit there, but again, that's not a problem. We can go back over that on with some gold, so that's not an issue at all. Okay, so all we're doing is trying to go for that best look we can as amateur painters. And it's, can we get it on the table? Is it going to look nice when it goes on the table? Are people going to, you know, question it? Are they going to just go, that's a smart model, and that's all we need? Okay, so there we go. I'm happy with that. That's fine. We're going to give that brush a wash. Now, what we're going to do next is, while that dries, we're going to start working down the staff. Now I'm going to do something I've never tried to do before. I'm just going to move that in a little bit. Still practicing, still learning, like we all learn all the time. So what I'm going to try and do is do some sort of blending on here. I've not done it before, so we'll give it a go. So we've got some Apothecary White, put my hand right in front of the camera, some Meandrin Yellow, some Gryph-hound Orange, sorry, and our Black Templar. And what we're going to look to do is just blend those colours from about here upwards to start with. This is all going to be Black Templar. Obviously this middle bit is a glow ball, so we'll cover that separately, I think. Oh, missed some primer there, never mind. And then we'll do the same down here, bottom bit gold. Then we'll go back, highlight all of this, and that will be the staff then completed. I'm not going to do his hand. Oh, I keep coming out of shot, I'm sorry. I'm not going to worry about his hand so much at the moment. Just because I'm going to cover off how to do the hand in Kairos himself. So you'll be able to come back and do that yourselves. And then obviously we just need to do these little details and the front of the book as well. So we'll give all of these a good shake and we'll keep them open. So contrast, from what I understand, is great for wet blending. It's not something I've tried, but I've been watching other videos, been trying to learn, which is again what it's all about, learning. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong, and we have to reevaluate, and we have to try something else. If we have to go back to traditional wet blending, then we'll go back to traditional wet blending, which again isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn while we do. In there, so you put one in there. And I've got my camera, managed to be caught up in my chair somehow. Okay, there we go, all fixed. So we're going to have them all open on the desk. And I like to put them out in the order that I'm going to use them. So moving from right to left, I've got my Apothecary White, Meandrin Yellow, Gryph-hound Orange, and Black Templar. And I'm going to use my small layer brush for this. So we'll start with some Apothecary White. And we're just going to do this top bit. Oh, it's too much. And we're just going to come down a bit further than we would normally, or a bit further down, should I say, than we want the colour to actually be. Okay, and then you've got to be quick, give that a wash, and move straight into Meandrin Yellow. And what we're going to do is move it up into that colour and just let those two colours mix themselves. They will blend themselves slightly in there. I'm not worried about getting it on my hand. Let's get rid of that. I'm just going to go back in slightly with a little bit more Apothecary White at the top here, just to let them blend and we get that nice little blend going on. That's too much there. So if it's too much, all you got to do is dry that brush off, wipe it away, go back in. There we go. into there. So I'm just going to pop another bit just underneath here. Must remember I'm filming. I keep forgetting. Need to get a better camera. I'm just using my phone at the moment. So it just goes to show anybody could do it. And then we're straight in with that Griffhound orange. Again, remembering to go up into it. It's a little bit dark for my liking, but that's not a problem. Okay, now I'm gonna start coming down with it. I'm gonna bring some of that out. And there we go, there's that blend starting. There we go. I quite like that. I'm quite happy with that blend that's going on there. You can see that shaking is affecting me quite badly today, so. Okay, and then that Black Templar, last but not least. And all we're trying to do is just get that little blend working. There we go. We've got a little bit here and there. There it is. There it is. It's starting to dry up a bit, but that's not a problem. It tastes disgusting, but then that's the joys of being a brush licker, I suppose. And there we go. And we're just going to carry that Black Templar all the way down, just onto this bit here. So using some nice long flowing brush strokes as best we can. And we're going to go up into that a little bit there. There we go. Oh, keep getting stuck, I'm sorry. And there we go. So there's that little blend that's just taken place. I'm quite happy with that. Again, it's what you're happy with. It's not what society says you should be doing, or what the heavy metal guys say, you know, do it this way, do it that way. I like it like that. I like the fact that that black is a little bit smoky grey. I like the fact we've got that blend just taking place down there. So all you got to do now is repeat that going the other way down the bottom of the staff. And don't forget to add your gold down the bottom. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to go and get that done. And then come back. When we come back, we'll highlight the staff. So that bit of the staff will then be done. We'll do the book, do the gold trim and highlight all that gold up, and that will be the staff completed. Okay, so as you can see, I've got that white moving through to the yellow, red and black. I've left the orb for a moment. We'll do that in a second one. This is dry. And I'll do this off camera, I think. We know how to do that because we've done that up here. So we're going to move back up the staff. And we are going to work on these little bits here. And we're just going to do this book. So with the book, just going to give that a coat of Celestial Grey, and we're going to give them the I don't know what you call them, talismans. I'm going to go with gold across the talismans, and then when we do the jewels, I'm just going to make these make these jewels as well. So it's a nice bit of Celestial Grey around there. Highlight that with some white scar, and then flipping over here, I would just do these in give these a nice coat of Archelian green and put some black Templar across the eyeballs. You don't need to see me to do that, you've done that. In terms of highlighting this blue, that's a good question. I'm probably gonna give it quite a stark highlight with some Teclis blue, and then go give it a little spot highlight with some Barahoth blue. Gold, we've obviously shaded that over. I quite like the effect that it's giving, so I'm not going to go again and bring it back up. And I'm just going to give it a few little highlights of some silver. And I like to use Vallejo Chrome. So just a little, you know, the rivets maybe. I'm not going to worry too much about the edges. So I'm just going to do, just going to do some rivets there. And just highlight that book up. Like I say, there is some overspillage. We're not professional painters. We're just gonna let that stay there. Just purely for the fact we'll keep going backwards and forwards, gold, blue, gold, blue, gold, blue, gold, blue, and it'll just ruin the model. So just be, you know, I'm happy because once you put it out there and it's on the model, you're not going to see it. No one's going to be paying attention to it. We're not, as I say, we're not here to competition paint. We are just here to enjoy our painting. Excuse me. So yeah, we will do these little bits in here in gold, I think, and I'm not going to shade them down at all. I'm just going to leave them a nice bright gold. Excuse me. If I can find my Retributor armor, which is there, which is fun. So with this orb, what I think we'll do is Gryph-hound orange around the outsides. We'll put some Yandan yellow just on these bits here. Let that sink into each other. And then we'll just go over it with a bit of white scar afterwards just to make that pop. It's going to pop just slightly. It just needs to be enough to pop. I just realised I missed a bit, so a bit of a wet brush and move that in. That's fine. Okay, so where to start? Where to start? These little things here we'll come back and do as gems, I think. Oh, really bad today. I've missed some quite a few bits. There we go. Okay, so we'll start with that Gryph-hound orange, and I'm going to lay it down because just because of my shakes this morning, it'd be difficult for me to get in there. And again, I'm not overly fussed about it. It is a central point of the staff, but actually once we start that little bit of blending, it's not going to matter too much because it's going to come together. So putting that together there. Oh. And then straight in with that Yandan yellow, I don't know how to say it. There we go, we'll just get that blending slightly, and it gives it a little warm, fiery effect. There we go. So again, like I said, if you're happy with it, leave it. Don't keep titivating it, which is something I do, but we'll come back to that and we'll highlight that with the white scar anyway. The rest of the highlights on the staff will probably be something like Uriel yellow. just so we can get that nice and highlighted. Right. Arthurian grey. There we go. So we'll come back up here. There we go. Let's scan that out a little bit. So I've got my Celestial Grey and my wet palette. Oh, small layer's not good enough. We want medium layer brush on this one. Okay, so with a wet palette, I tend not to thin down my paint because it's on a wet palette. If I add too much water, it tends to ruin the paint and it makes it far too thin. So what we're going to do, a nice base coat of Celestial Grey. Again, probably 2 thin coats of this, and then we will go over it with some Apothecary White, just for the shadow. Oh, you can see, again, we always miss bits. So that's fine. I'll go back and tidy that up a bit later on. Okay, maybe we don't need 2 thin coats. If we're going to go over the top of that with some Apothecary White, I think that is going to be just fine. There's no brush marks on there that I can see particularly. So quite happy with that. Lovely. Let's move a little bit of that in there. Put the cap back on that, keep that nice and thin. Okay, so back to that small layer brush, just to do these details. Now this is where someone with a shaky hand struggles. So I'm going to do my best. If need be, I will go back and tidy up. So I don't want too much paint on my brush, but enough that it flows. And you can see that I'm already overspilling because I'm trying to okay, and even picking it up doesn't really change it. In fact, it makes it probably a little bit worse. So just do your best, take your time. You will need 2 coats of it. If you need to go back and tidy up with that Achillean green, do so, which is what I'm going to do afterwards. It's not the easiest thing in the world highlighting as a shaky painter, but that's what we're here for. We're here to prove that just because you're shaky, you can still have a nice looking model at the end of it. And it does take time, it takes patience, it takes going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you can see with this one here, the shaking took over. Okay, so we'll need 2 thin coats, like I say, to get over that. Okay, don't get, I'm not one to talk really, but don't get frustrated with the fact that you're overspilling and the fact you can't do it. As you can see there, I tried to lift my brush off and the shakes took over it and just popped it into that recess where I don't really want it. But again, we'll go back, we'll tidy it up. Just try and get that shape in. But don't get frustrated with it. It's all about learning. It's all about trial and error. You'll find something that works for you eventually. I'm still trying to find what works for me. And these little detail things, they don't work for me at all. Because I am shaking. I'm trying to do a good job so that you guys can see. But you know what? It's mistakes. Mistakes get made. Okay. So I'm just going to let that dry. Come back, give it another coat. I'm going to give that another coat and tidy that up. I'm going to do these in gold as well while I'm away. And then when we come back, it's just a case really of putting the apothecary white on there, giving the staff a bit of a highlight, and then I think we could probably call the staff done. Apart from the jewels that we'll come back and do a bit later on. Okay, so as you can see, we have tidied this up a little bit. It looks better. We can make out the symbols. I've done the gold down the bottom, like I said I would, and we've done this central orb. Celestial grey and apothecary white over the top of that. So what we're going to do now is just do a few highlights. I'm quite happy with the way it looks as it is, and if you wanted to leave it there, you could leave it there. It's tabletop ready, and I would quite happily leave it there. But as this is a tutorial, we're just going to use some Uriel yellow, and we're not going to do a lot of highlighting. The black Templar, as you can see, it gives that nice smoky grey that's come through, which is quite nice. What brush do I want? So I'm going to use a 0, one of my H&S detail brushes, and I'm just gonna, I find it easier to highlight on flatter objects when they're laid down, and I'm just gonna get a few little Uriel yellow highlights, moving into that black and going up. It's not, sometimes the Uriel yellow is not going to show through, but it's fine. I struggle to highlight. I tend not to highlight. I tend to dry brush quite a lot, but it is what it is. Just because it make it easier. But you know, it's people want to see how you can highlight with shaky hands. It's not the easiest job in the world, believe me. I struggle a lot to get a nice straight line. There's too much on there. As you can see, my highlights go all over the place, but as long as there's a hint of it being there, then I'm quite happy. It tends to just blend it all together a bit nicely. Yeah, you probably can't see them on the camera, but I can see them here, and I think they look quite nice. I'm just going to use the side of my brush just to go over the top of that central bit there, which I quite like. I quite like the fact this comes down here, so I might do it on the other end. You'll have to excuse the drilling in the background. We have some building work. As you can see, that's a nice little highlight going in there. So just repeat that on the other side again. It's almost like feathering those little tiny little highlights in. I don't like to overpower my models with highlights. Some models we will look at highlighting a lot harder and a lot more of. Kairos himself isn't going to have a lot of highlights on him. He will have a few gold highlights here and there, and some skin highlights, but that's about it. The rest will be dry brushing, I can promise you. The body will all be dry brushing, and so will the wings. Okay, so we've got that there. Some Techlist blue, just again, just the tiniest bit. That's going to be too dark, so let's try something else. Let's go with Luthern blue, I think. Luthern blue, let's try that. That's better. Bit of Luthern blue. And all we're going to do with this, quite literally, is the sides of the book. So a nice little edge highlight. Now, edge highlighting, again, is difficult for someone with shakes, but just try and hold the model as still as you can. Use the edge of your brush and go along with it. That's far too thick. Again, like I say, it's difficult because you've got to get that starting point has got to be right. There we go. It's still thick. And you can just wipe it off with your finger. There we go. Just lightly going across. There we go. Just there, just so we get that subtle colour coming through. You can just change the colour of these just to suggest the slight colour change. Now, you could go around the outside of the bubbles, but as a shaky painter, that's just not going to happen. I'm just going to give these ones a bit of a whip through. These have got quite a nice straight line inside as well. So if you can get into them, do. If you can't, don't worry. I'm going to give it an attempt. If it goes horribly wrong, it goes horribly wrong. There we go. I'm going to do this side as well. The heat here in the UK is absolutely ridiculous at the moment, and using a wet palette is helping massively, just to try and keep the paint wet. However, I would suggest if it is warm, wear some gloves. There's plenty of them around at the moment with this damn pandemic. It stops the sweat from bringing the paint off. Where are we with there? Yeah, that one there, that one there. Job done. So that is part 1 of Kairos Fateweaver done. Like I say, there are some gems still to come back and do on the staff itself, but I'm quite happy with the way that's turned out. Let's move this out so you can see. I was going to do some gold, some silvery highlights, but I've changed my mind and decided not to. I quite like the bronzy look. I've still got to shade this bottom bit here just with some Guilliman flesh, but apart from that and the gems, like I say, the eyes, do them whatever colour you want. I'm going to do mine just a Killian green with a bit of black line, with a black line between the two. Let's zoom in so we can see that a bit better, like that. So that's part 1 of Kairos Fateweaver completed. Next time we will be working on Kairos himself. We will be looking at his wings predominantly and his skin. We won't be sort of concentrating on the gold or anything at that point. We will just be looking at getting him into view for a start. And we'll look to do his skin. Oh, skeks his face. His skin and his wings, basically, and sort of these back feathers area here. All right. We'll get them done in the next thing. And yes, we're going to use contrast to do these because it'd make it easier to dry brush. In fact, a lot of it is going to be contrast paint with some normal highlighting. Yeah. So, once again, if you've enjoyed the Kairos Fateweaver staff video, then subscribe, like, share, do whatever it is you guys do to help people, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.